Imagine you are standing in the middle of an open field. The sky turns dark. The wind picks up. And then, drops. Heavy, cold, relentless rain. You have nowhere to go. No umbrella. No jacket. No shelter nearby. What do you do? Now imagine that exact feeling, but it's not you. It's a human being living 50,000 years ago. No cities. No buildings. No roads. Just raw wilderness and a storm closing in fast. What did they actually do? Where did they go? And how did something as simple as rainfall shape the entire story of human civilization? Most of us take rain for granted. We hear it on the window, we grab a coat, and we move on with our day. But for ancient humans, rain was not background noise. It was one of the most powerful forces in their world. It could mean survival or starvation. Safety or danger. Life or death. And yet, almost nobody talks about this. We learn about the tools they made, the animals they hunted, the cave paintings they left behind. But we never stop to ask, what happened when it rained? The answer goes far deeper than you might expect. To understand this, we need to travel back, not hundreds of years, but tens of thousands. Long before agriculture. Long before villages. When humans were nomadic, always moving, always adapting. These were people who had no calendar, but they knew the seasons. They had no weather app, but they could read the sky better than any technology we have today. Rain was not a surprise to them. It was a rhythm. And they had learned, through generations of survival, exactly how to respond to it. The first thing ancient humans did when rain came was something almost instinctive: they looked for high ground. Not because they were afraid of getting wet, but because they understood something critical. Low areas flood fast. Rivers rise without warning. A calm stream can become a deadly current in minutes. Archaeological evidence from sites across Africa, Europe, and Asia shows that early human campsites were almost always positioned on elevated terrain, near natural overhangs, ridges, or hills. This was not coincidence. This was intelligent, deliberate planning based on deep environmental knowledge. But here is where it gets fascinating. Rain did not just threaten them, it also gave them something invaluable. Caves. Rock overhangs. Natural shelters carved by millions of years of water erosion. And ancient humans knew exactly where these shelters were. Researchers have found that many prehistoric cave sites show evidence of repeated, seasonal use. The same location, visited year after year, generation after generation. These were not random discoveries. They were remembered places. Passed down through oral knowledge long before writing existed. Rain was the reason humans began to build a mental map of their world. Think about what that means. Every time it rained, ancient humans were not just surviving. They were learning. They were adding information to a collective knowledge base stored entirely in memory and story. Which rocks stay dry? Which valleys flood? Which hills catch the worst wind? This was the first weather intelligence in human history, and it was entirely oral, entirely human, entirely earned through experience. Now let's talk about what they actually did inside those shelters during a storm. And this is where ancient human life becomes surprisingly rich. Rain meant rest. In a world where survival demanded constant movement, hunting, foraging, traveling, a storm was one of the few forces that gave ancient humans permission to stop. And in that stopping, something extraordinary happened. They talked. They created. They connected. Anthropologists who study modern hunter-gatherer communities, which give us our closest living window into prehistoric life, have found that rainy periods are some of the most socially and creatively intense times. Stories are told. Knowledge is transferred. Children learn from elders. Tools are repaired and refined. And art is made. Some researchers now believe that a significant portion of early cave art was created during exactly these kinds of forced pauses, when rain pinned a group inside a cave and gave them both the time and the firelight to express something about their world. Fire played an enormous role here. Ancient humans had mastered fire long before the rains came down on them. And a cave with fire during a storm was not just warm, it was social. It was safe. The crackling fire, the drumming rain outside, the smell of wet earth, these were the conditions under which early human culture was built. Songs, rituals, and language itself may have been shaped and sharpened in moments exactly like these. Rain did not pause human development. It accelerated it. But there was another dimension to rain that we rarely consider, spiritual. Ancient humans did not see the natural world the way we do. Rain was not just weather. It was something alive. Something intentional. Many of the earliest known spiritual and ritual behaviors in human history are connected to water, to rivers, to rain, to floods. Evidence of offerings placed near water sources dates back over 30,000 years. Rain was worshipped, feared, interpreted, and celebrated across virtually every ancient culture on Earth. This pattern did not begin with organized religion. It began much, much earlier, around a fire in a cave, listening to a storm, wondering why the sky was crying. Here is the part that should genuinely stop you in your tracks. Everything you take for granted in your modern life, cities, agriculture, trade, writing, civilization itself, all of it traces back, in some way, to how ancient humans responded to rainfall. The rivers that flooded every year in Egypt, Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, they forced early humans to settle, to plan, to cooperate, to invent systems of organization. The first calendars were designed to predict rain seasons. The first gods in many cultures were gods of rain and sky. The first conflicts between human groups were often over access to water. Rain did not just shape ancient human behavior on a rainy day. Rain shaped the entire arc of human history. And there is something deeply human in all of this. The ancient person huddled in a rock shelter 40,000 years ago, watching rain pour down the cliff face, holding their child close, feeding the fire, they were not so different from you. They were afraid of the dark. They were comforted by warmth. They told stories. They wondered about things they could not explain. The storm outside was the same storm. Only the shelter has changed. The next time it rains, really rains, and you are warm and dry inside, take a moment. Listen to it. Feel it. Because somewhere in that sound is an echo that goes back further than you can imagine. Ancient humans heard that same sound and they did not run from it. They used it. They learned from it. They built culture inside it. They looked at the sky and asked questions that we are still trying to answer today. Rain was not their enemy. It was their teacher. And in the deepest sense, it is ours too. The only question is whether we are still paying attention.